Bad movie crew. Bad movie crew.
We are back with another edition of the Bad Movie Crew. I am your host, Neil. I'm usually joined by my host, your other host, and my brother from another mother, Mark. But we are obviously joined here by the Riddler. Yo. And we are here with another edition of the Bad Movie Crew. Now, as usual, you're liking the content. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Just like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit notification bell so you don't miss anything coming on the pipeline. Of course, what we are doing today, as you could tell by the title and by Mark's getup, we are doing the Batman. Obviously, we would have done that series late last month, all last month really, where we talked about the various Batman character in television and film. And now we are reviewing the Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. Now, as you can see, Mark is dressed as the Riddler, and he is doing a very damn good job of doing it. He has his tool, has his tape, and the mask, and the hood, and the glasses. Obviously, he can't sustain that because we're gonna get into it. But my brother, how is everything? Let us first let the people know how you're doing, and then once we are okay, we could go ahead and talk about this movie.
Yes, my brother. Yes. As you can see, I'm having a ball. I am good, my brother. Just glad to be here and back in the saddle again, pumping out content for the people.
Yes, sir.
It's good to be here, man. How's the last month for you, sir?
Man, it was good. It was busy, of course. You know, I am grateful, I am thankful, I am blessed. And I am extremely blessed now that we've gone to see the Batman movie. And before we get into it, like, we obviously have a preamble to tell you about the movie. We don't just go cold turkey into it because this movie is amazing. Spoiler alert, this movie is amazing. So obviously the Batman came out March 4th, 2022. It was written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. Now, Matt Reeves would have been written such movies like Cloverfield, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. And he would have written this with Peter Craig, who would have done movies such as Hunger Games 1 and 2, Bad Boys for Life, and Top Gun Maverick, which is coming out later this year. Now, the cinematography was done by our boy, Mark, Greg Fraser. Now, Greg Fraser has done movies such as Zero Dark 30, Rogue One, which it could tell. And did you know that I don't know if you remember, but he did Dune as well. So,
yep.
And then the music was done by Michael Giacchino. He did the musical score for such movies as Mission Impossible, for Jurassic World, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Star Trek reboot series, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, and Rogue One. So he's a big one too. And this movie obviously stars Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne / Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman / Selena Kyle, Paul Dano as the Riddler / Edward Nashton.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner, well, he's not Commissioner Gordon, but Lieutenant Detective Jim Gordon. We have John Turturro, who plays Falcone. We have Peter Sarsgaard, who plays the DA. We have Andy Serkis that plays Alfred. And we have Colin Farrell in an amazing role as the Penguin. Now, Mark, my brother, this movie has come out. Oh, this movie has made so far. We recorded this on the 13th of March, which is some 9 days later. It's made $436.2 million. And of course, we cannot fail to mention that this movie is 2 hours and 56 minutes. And there's somehow,
well, technically, if you go to cinema where we went, add another half hour.
Yeah. We went to a particular cinema in Barbados, and it stopped literally 5 minutes before it ended, and we had to wait another half an hour. So for us, for Mark and myself, and those who would have watched it when we watched it, it took 3 hours and about 25 minutes. Anyhow, neither here nor there. Now, obviously, this movie, before we get into it, we have to mention it. Spoiler alert, we will be talking about the movie, not necessarily giving away too many plot points, but obviously we're going to get into the movie, so we may spoil some things for those who have not watched it. So if you've not watched the Batman, we recommend that you watch it. You pause this, put this in your favorites.
We recommend you watch it twice.
Yeah.
But not back to back, because
but I got a day put now.
Exactly.
Right. So pause this, put us in the favorites, go and watch the Batman as soon as possible, and when you're finished and you're ready, you can resume us, give us a like, click, and give us a subscription. Now, The Batman follows Bruce Wayne / Batman in his second year fighting crime as a vigilante, and Gotham is, he's instilled a bit of fear into the Gothamites, particularly the criminal element of Gotham. And along comes the Riddler, and he is essentially a serial killer. He is going around killing some of the elite in Gotham for obviously particular reasons. He's very brutal in how he does that. He's very visual, and he's very maniacal. Very maniacal in how he does it. You would have to watch the movie to get the references of what Mark is portraying. But really and truly, that's it. Basically, Batman has to stop the Riddler before he can continue killing the elite in Gotham. He kills, some very, very elite people in the city. And, he's doing that because he wants to amass the truth. What that truth is, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. But anyway, Mark, we are talking about The Batman. My brother.
Sir.
Tell me how you felt about this movie.
The movie is awesome.
Thank you for watching the Bad Movie Crew.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
But yeah, from the opening monologue, they set the tone as to what to expect or what they're trying to portray. The movie is 2 hours and 55 minutes. And you can see why, because they took their time. Sometimes probably a little bit to the detriment of the movie. It didn't really have to be 2 hours and 55 minutes, but they went to great lengths to to set the scene and try to get you to actually feel the scene. Like the opening monologue and the opening 10 minutes of the movie, I guess you want to call it the prologue, brilliant. But it did a great job of trying to show you the fear that even in year 2 that Batman has instilled in the criminal element. Because they go through showing you various little crimes happening, nothing like out the ordinary. And every time somebody saw the bat signal, it was like, oh shit! Like they tried to do something like this in The Dark Knight, but it was almost comical. It was serious, but it was like, if I remember correctly, the man was like trying to buy from a drug dealer, and the signal went up. The signal went up, sorry, and the drug dealer was like, "You're more likely to get get arrested by a cop than seeing Batman." Like, so they tried to play up for kicks, but this there was no kicks. There was fear. Is like you feared Batman. Like the first crime that you saw where is just a petty robbery, a simple robbery. The man stares down a dark alleyway, and you can see this. You can see the gears turning. Is Batman down this alleyway? And if I go down this alleyway, am I going to get my ass burst? You know what? I'm going to walk out into the middle of the street and rather get knocked down by a car. Like that is the fear that Batman has instilled, and they did a great job of translating it to the audience. Every time Batman was on screen, you felt his presence. This man did not run anywhere. I don't think he didn't run nowhere.
Yeah, he ran a
sorry.
He ran a couple scenes, but
he ain't Tom Cruise it. He ain't Tom Cruise it. He ain't Tom Cruise it. And every time he walked, I want to say what? Robert Pattinson can probably for this role in no more than $80, $90. If he up at 200, is a lot. But every time he stepped, like it was like it felt like King Kong or Hulk or somebody monstrous was coming in the room, and you're just telling yourself like, yeah, all right, cool, I get it. Like I get it why the people are afraid. And although the movie is a dark movie in tone and in look, the movie was beautifully shot. Like there's a scene that was obviously in the trailer where there is no light except gunfire, and again, know that you mentioned Rogue One, it is just like Darth Vader walking down the hallway.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm like, all right.
Makes sense.
And it made sense. And it was beautifully shot. It dark. And all you seeing is automatic fire. And every time you see automatic fire, you just seeing a right hand hitting somebody.
Or right hand or left foot, boy. Licks.
Lex. And yes, another thing. This movie is violent. Like literally no punches were pulled in this movie. And I am here for it. This is the Batman you can get with. Yeah, I ain't got no time to put you in the Arkham. I am going to break you up. And you're going to really sit and wonder, is this life of crime worth it?
Right. Yep.
But like, there was no bad acting. I can't think nobody was over the top.
Nobody was over the top or underplayed their part.
No, everybody understood the assignment and everybody killed it. And again, you could probably critique the third act or more the ending of the third act, but in the grand scheme of things, this movie was just so fucking awesome. Like Batman entered the room, and I didn't know I mentioned this to you while we was watching it. I feel like Darth Vader walking in the room.
Yep.
Every time the man walk in, it was just this like, oh Jesus, like Batman is real, and he's standing up there looking at the cops, and the cops are looking at him like, this nigga is real.
Yep.
Like, this is a real nigga.
Yep.
And you're just there like, all right, cool. And the Riddler, making the Riddler such a serious, almost Joker-esque. I don't want to compare, but for what we know of Riddler to be and for what the Joker is, you could almost see the comparison that they were trying to make. But making the Riddler a psychotic maniac, just I am going to kill people and duct tape them and cut off fingers and blow them up in churches and shit like that. Like, all right, we have come a long way from Jim Carrey Riddler.
Jim Carrey's Riddler.
We have come such a long way. And I mean, and it's almost like they looked at the Riddler from the Batman, the animated, where he was a more serious and intimidating figure. And they also pulled in elements from the animated universe, because there's Batman Hush, where the Riddler is is a very serious take on the Riddler, and they did very well in pulling from different parts of the source material. And at 450 million in math's a little bad. 9 days?
Yeah, 460 in 9 days.
In 9 days, we now got another Batman. We now got Batman to watch.
And I have no problem with it.
I have no problem. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Like, there are parts in this movie where if I was Batman and Catwoman look up at me and tell me, hello, we really ain't got to do this. Gotham will go away, boy. Catching the Riddler. Catching Riddler today or catching you 5 weeks down the road.
Ain't like Gotham can get any worse or better. I mean, like Gotham is Gotham.
And that's what I liked about it. In the beginning, the Batman said exactly what we've been saying for the last month. Crime don't get no better.
Crime don't get no better.
So right to the man tell you something. Like, it sets the tone for the time period we're in. He makes a lot of mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes. He holds a lot of glove. I especially like when he had that shotgun blast in chest. Like, I didn't expect that. That was hilarious. And the Batwing suit into the tumbleweed. Into the tumbleweed was hilarious. But they showed you his infancy. Like, he's, like I say, still making mistakes. He still
has fear.
Yeah, he's still getting glove up. He's not exactly sure how to balance the playboy Bruce Wayne with the nighttime vigilante. And it showed me, but again, they didn't give us a lot of Bruce, and thankfully, because I'm not sure how he would have pulled off Bruce, but the snippets were for the time period it's supposed to be, was very well done. And I am struggling to find critiques of it. I mean, yes, the ending, it's a bit waffling, but like, you got Batman in the middle of the day with the National Guard and police pulling people out of the flood and thing. All right, it's a feel good moment in what is a otherwise very dark in tone movie. I get it. It doesn't suit it, but still, in the grand scheme of things, that is but a scratch. Tis a but a scratch.
I hope y'all know that reference. Put it in the comments if y'all know where that movie, which movie that come from. Should be easy.
It's a but a scratch. But yeah, like I would go and watch the movie again. I would, and I would go and watch the movie again in theaters
easily,
because this movie was fantastic. And again, cinematography, the score, everything, the everything was great. I'm struggling to think of a shot that was out of place or didn't make sense. You know what I mean? And yeah, let me just say, as I said at the beginning, the movie was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I am gonna say much of what Mark said, but I can obviously bring it from my standpoint, my perspective. Now, the beginning of this movie was awesome. First things first, they give you the credit, the Batman, and that's it. No starring, no directing, no nothing. By this time, you know why you are here. You know what is happening, and you know the players involved. If you don't know, you will find out at the end of the 3 hours, or look it up when you're on your ride home, when you get home. But really and truly, you've come to see Batman. Now, this movie is 2 hours and 56 minutes, 56 minutes. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of lingering shots. Now, there are other movies that have been this long, such as No Time to Die, the James Bond movie with a critique. That was self-indulgent. This one, to me, was serving a purpose. This, for example, like very early on in the movie, Mark makes reference to the first 10 minutes where they, because you got to kind of introduce a bunch of themes and characters, right? So you got to introduce Batman, even though we know who Batman is, but you got to set up the state of Gotham, the state of Batman, and what he means to the city, and then you got to introduce the antagonist, right? Now, they do a very good job of setting up Gotham, particularly the criminal element, and particularly how in the 2 years of time that he's been fighting crime, they are showing how feared Batman is. He does this monologue because he's doing diary entries, and he narrates the first part of it, and he speaks. I mean, he does this thing where he says, you know, a lot of people see the bat signal in the air, and I think that's a call to me, but really that's a warning to them. Like the way he says it and the imagery that's on screen at the time, Mark makes reference to when they were doing their various petty crimes, like spray painting, doing graffiti on like their city hall or whatever, the petty criminal that robbed by a gun some store or whatever. When they see that signal, they start looking on dark alleys, and they linger on the dark alleys. The shots linger on the dark alleys. They dolly into the dark alleys, kind of into the void. Some 10, 15, 20 seconds going down a void, simply because they want you to understand and feel the trepidation that these robbers have, these criminals have. And I felt it. I felt like, yo, that Batman lamp, he said like Batman even here, and I am concerned because you're almost anticipating Batman coming out and kicking ass, right? Now, they obviously save that for a scene where some petty thugs try to bat up a citizen, and Batman comes and, Lord of mercy, it was glorious. Glorious, glorious, because the anticipation pays off in that short 10 minutes when he confronts these criminals that trying to just unfair a Gothamite, right? Now, we transition from Gotham, because Batman and Gotham are pretty much one and the same. Batman is a reflection of Gotham. So, you know, you have to set up Batman's psyche, and you have to set up just his descent into madness, because we've always said this for years, like Batman is not a mentally healthy person. He has scars, he has damages, and he is somebody that, I mean, in another forum we could discuss that he may be mentally ill, right? Regardless of how you want to see it and perceive it, Gotham and Batman are a reflection of each other, right? which I could make a joke of, but I will not do that. We can be serious. No, they introduced the antagonist, the Riddler. No, as Mark made reference to, the Riddler has always been a lighter character, a lighter villain to like the Joker. He's like a light Joker. He challenges Batman's mind, Bruce Wayne's mind, and it's almost like he's one step ahead of Batman. Batman is considered the world's greatest detective. It always seems that the Riddler is one step ahead, but he has always been portrayed as this very light, comedic type character. You know, Mark made very good reference to Jim Carrey and also to the Batman the animated series where he was a bit more serious and everything like that. But by and large, the Riddler was not, even in the Arkham games, right? He was always seen as a very lighter character than some of the other villains portrayed in the Batman series and films. Let me tell you, this is not your this is not your sons or daughters. This is not your children. This is not APG.
This is not your grandfather. This is your great grandfather. This
is a Riddler that's so rough. Like this Riddler, they do such a good job of showcasing each character's motivation, intent, their demeanor. Like every character from Batman to Alfred to Jim Gordon to the Riddler to the Penguin to Falcone, you feel exactly what they want you to feel from that character in any given moment. The Riddler, when he is on screen, let me tell you, this in a kiki haha Riddler, you know. This man in a green suit,
top hat
cane wearing. This man walking about with, as Mark had, a tool and some duct tape, and he is going to perpetuate violence, unspeakable violence, right? So this is an amazing movie, and that is to kind of to speak why the shots are so, sorry, why the movie is so long, because all of those 20-second shots, 30-second shots, those shots add up from scene to scene. You get such a lengthy movie, and I have no problem with it because it gave me all of the chills I want. They did not exposition you to death. You know, there was some exposition dumps here and there, but they did not exposition you to death. You got exactly what they wanted to show you.
I think the exposition was timely.
Yeah. Because through newsreels and
newsreels and discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously this is, I think our good friend at Batman aficionado and I think part-time lover, said this is essentially a whodunit, but with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really this really goes into the detective side of what Batman is, and in those type of movies, you need the exposition because you know discoveries have to be made.
You can't help exposition. Exposition is a part of film, but you know I'm always a proponent of show me instead of tell me, and they do a very good job of showing me more so than they're showing me far more than they tell me, right? You know, there are elements in this movie from various storylines of Batman Year One, the Long Halloween. You said there was a little bit of hush in it. For me,
a little bit of Dark Knight, Frank Miller's Dark Knight as well.
For me, I saw a lot of the Arkham games in it. If you've ever played the Arkham games, I felt a lot of the Arkham series of games in this as well, right? So if you're a Batman fan, if you've enjoyed any content from Batman, especially any of those that we talked about, you will see that here. No, the shots, the cinematography, yo, this movie, Mark said it was gorgeously shot. This movie is a bland, dark, drab, dreary movie, right? But it is gorgeous in its use of light and its use of camera angles and camera work. There is a scene, and this was in the trailer too, to see this scene in the car chase with the Penguin and how it concludes. And then how he walks up to the car, right? And he's walking up to the car, and Batman is very methodical because he understands the anticipation builds fear, right? So as he walks slowly to the car and he bends down, the Penguin is like, this man, it looks like he's walking out of fire. He seems unkillable. and he slowly moves toward the car, and the camera does not pan away from a second of it. Yeah, sure, they could have cut it from when he gets to the car and walks to the car, and they could have sped that up a lot, because that sequence alone at the end of the car chase was a lot longer than it could have been. They could have made that they could have truncated that a lot, but they purposely made it that Batman has the Penguin. He ain't got a rush. He ain't got a thing. Like, he run up to the car and pull it out. That ain't gonna be like Walker. He is not gonna kill the Penguin, but Penguin doesn't know that. So he's gonna walk up to the Penguin as Penguin is in a car crash. He seemingly just flew through fire, came to him right off his car, and pulls him from the car. Like, to me, that was like, as I think back to this movie, there's that scene in the hallway scene Mark mentioned where the only light is the gunfire, and you still can glean what's happening. You can still discern that Batman is kicking ass against these men. They can't see, but they're frightened, and they're shooting blindly. And Batman is kicking ass because he knows exactly where and how they are. Now, another thing, so that's the cinematography element of it. It's beautiful. The use of light, the use of colors without light. They're at the end of the movie where he saves people in this arena, this indoor arena. It's flooded. The only light is like a siren. It's pitch black, but there's a siren. The red and the blue interchanging and flashing. That was beautiful. He does the flare. He's leading the people to safety. That was gorgeous. Like, this movie was a beautifully shot movie. Like, this ain't even a question. Like, this should be nominated for cinematography of the year and score of the year, because this is the segue into, Mark made mention very early on to whenever they played the theme of Batman in this movie, it sounds like John Williams' Imperial March. And it was like, you're right, because every time they look down a hallway, and this is where the Rogue One comes into, every time you look down a hallway and they have that beat of it, it's not exactly like Imperial March, but the first few beats.
It's like it's like Kanye West or Puff Daddy got a hold of it and sampled it. Right? Sampled it,
and it works. It's beautiful because it just leads to this imposing threat that is the Batman. This man is a vigilante. He's a hero. We all know that he's a hero. He's not killing anybody or whatever, but you can feel the fear. And this is a brilliant use of camera work and music to tell the story, more so than having exposition dumps, as I mentioned, or having characters do basic things to show you things, right? The acting was brilliant. As I said, every character they acted with intent. Batman, Bruce Wayne, well, he was a weaker Bruce Wayne than some of the others, but as Batman, you understood the Batman, and the moments where he were just after fighting crime or whatever, he takes off the cowl, he still has on the face paint or whatever, you can tell that he does not know how to be Bruce Wayne. This is him. Bruce Wayne is Batman, and Batman is Bruce Wayne. This is who he is. This is who Bruce Wayne is. But he does not know how to be normal. He doesn't know how to blend into society. And as Mark mentioned, this is in year 2, so he hasn't found that balance yet, right? In other iterations of Batman, they say that Bruce Wayne is his mask, is his alter ego. Batman is really who he is, right? He hasn't found out that dichotomy yet to go into public as Bruce Wayne and put on a face. He hasn't discovered that yet. Selena Kyle, she is brilliant as Catwoman. She's very tantalizing. She's very seductive, but she's also on a mission, and she also wants to met out her justice to what has happened to one of her friends in the movie. And you know, she has a backstory and everything like that. And even though they made subtle changes to some of the lore of Batman, it was in service to the product and it made sense. Yeah, like even the Riddler's backstory, Falcon's backstory, you know, some of the backstory of some of these characters, it makes sense. Even in Batman's parents, the lineage, and some of the things that went down, right? Even though some may say, I don't necessarily like what they did, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think you have a problem with it, because it lends to telling a succinct story of why these characters are doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, I agree with you. I have a slight problem with it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's something that I can be okay with, because you put a little bit of what's the word they want you? You put a little bit of dirt on Thomas Wayne and Martha. All right, cool. For the story you're telling, where they live in this city, where corruption is at an all-time high, okay, I understand. We can't have everybody. They can't be
Nobody's beyond
always
reproach.
right. Yeah, they can't always be paragons of virtue that they were, and the death galvanized the city and that sort of stuff. I get it. I'm like, cool. Did I really like it? No, but as you say, for the product and for what what they're bringing to you, I can let it slide.
Yeah, you can accept it because it's subtle. So as I was saying, the characters, some people have a problem with Jim Gordon being black. I don't know what to tell you. Simply because, the original Catwoman was black on television. She has been a white woman. To me, it doesn't matter because I got the essence of Jim Gordon from Jeffrey Wright. The Riddler was amazing. Paul Dano played the Riddler to perfection. The Penguin, I cannot believe. I need to see the process of Colin Farrell being transformed into the Penguin because for me, I have seen no reference of Colin Farrell in that performance, in his look, acting, nothing like that. To me, he needs a nomination for supporting actor.
Yeah.
When the Oscars come around, his name gotta be in the pot because he is really good in that role. Earlier I said Robert Patterson. It's Robert Pattinson. I'm sorry for that. He is the Batman and he played it well. For me, overall, I think the movie was amazing. I think this is, and I guess this is as good a time as any that we could discuss it. Because obviously when we talk about certain IP and certain movies in a series or in a world or lore of a character or an IP, we usually compare it to something else that was better, right? So for you, obviously, The Dark Knight is arguably the greatest Batman movie ever put to film.
Yep.
And this being as good as it is going to draw a lot of comparison to that, and some may even want to argue that it is better than The Dark Knight. Is this better than The Dark Knight for you? If so, yes. If not, why?
It isn't better, but not. It's not like Dark Knight has a. It's not like Usain Bolt in the 100 meter. It's not that sort of distance. Like it is a very close. Like it's almost 1A, 1B for me. Depending on the day and the mood that you watch it, you could flip flop between these two, and I have no issue with that. But the reason why where I think it comes in just behind is when we always say your movie is only as good as your villain, especially in a comic book movie. And while I rate the Riddler, he is just behind Heath Ledger's Joker.
But let me ask you a question because we did talk about this before. I know it just came to my mind. So before you forget, let me ask you this: do you think that the reason why Heath Ledger's Joker is much better than Paul Dano's Riddler is because the Joker is the most iconic villain, arguably, in all superhero IP? So like the Joker is the greatest villain in comic books, and therefore he was portrayed amazingly. The Riddler, however, has always been wishy-washy. He's been inconsistent in terms of portrayal, and he's not been a very serious villain in certain elements, in certain like obviously in the comics he's a lot more serious and more threatening. But if you understand what we say, do you think that it is basically the character they played more so than the portrayal? Because I would venture to say that Paul Dano's Riddler is almost there. It is like really, really good. But he's playing essentially a B villain. You know what I mean?
That could be a part of it, the little subconscious back in your mind. It is the Joker and it was played fantastically, so that gives it the edge. But even if so, it still is the edge that will take it.
Yep.
And I mean, like you said, Paul, like I wasn't scared of Heath Ledger's Joker. I was just like, this might like a lot of.
I know about you. I was frightened. I was afraid. I understand what you're saying. Like for me, I was afraid, but
like I think the Joker, like he said, even he himself said it. He's more about the chaos. He's more about upsetting the
order.
order,
The
right?
perception of
The
order.
perception of order. So like, if he would like put a spoke in somebody, he would put a stick in somebody's wheel, and just like that's just the stuff he wanted to go. So his his thing was more about chaos and seeing how far like you could push somebody before the break. That was his thing. So it didn't he didn't really come off as fear, at least unless he was telling how he got his scars. Because somebody had a dead every time he had almost every time he said that somebody died. Right? The Riddler?
He was no
like,
guff. He was no joke.
I could almost see myself if I watched that at 7 o'clock. I come home and I check in my whole house before I go to sleep. Like I'm like, this nigga's again. This house real easy. Let me just look wrong. Like,
your cursory check.
Yeah, make sure. You're gonna be laying on your bed. You tell yourself, you lock the door and you're gonna sleep in there. You say, I would get up and triple check. Like,
yeah.
But it's still, there's just something about Heath's Joker that pushes that movie. And although the Dark Knight is still young it's still kind of set young in Batman's career, you can see that he's not as green in that. Yeah, he still takes licks because of the way he fights and the stuff he does, but that literally was okay. Batman is almost at where he's supposed to be in the lore. The Joker is almost where he's supposed to be. So they're like literally
butting heads.
This one, you can see they're no discovering or no, I guess, on the path to figuring out how they're supposed to be. Because at the end of the day, yes, the Riddler's plan was foiled as it would have to be, but he almost lost it in Arkham. And then you can see he's speaking to somebody next cell, which we won't say who we suspect it to be. Watch the movie.
It is kind of confirmed who it was because it did some reading. But yeah, you can watch the movie and
watch the movie, and that brings him back to sanity, as much sanity as you can get.
I would say focus, not sanity.
Well, yeah.
In a sanity in Arkham.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. And then, like I said, because of Batman and the Joker being almost where they're supposed to be versus Batman and the Riddler now on the way to where they're supposed to be, that's why I would give the Dark Knight the edge.
Yeah. For me, I kind of agree. Like, I think for me, the reason why I give the Dark Knight, I will give the Dark Knight the edge is because one, the Joker was phenomenal. To see the Joker being stable in his instability, being chaotic, kind of almost
to perfection.
He's perfection. Doing yeah. So he was excellent in the role. And Christian Bale was really good. I think the reason why I would give Dark Knight the edge is because of the time it came out where Batman was. No one expected it to be as good as it was because when Heath Ledger was cast, it was like, I don't want this. And also too because of the tone with which how grounded it was and the tone it was. Now, having said that about tone, right? I got to mention to a few things. One, I never thought I would say that the Dark Knight compared to this Batman movie is light and cheery. This movie is dark and gritty and grimy. This is so down to earth, and I loved it because even the devices that he has, right? Like the only thing that was kind of almost impossible tech was the eyepiece thing and the ear thing that has the amazing reception. I know they have AirPods now and wireless earbuds and stuff like that, but like the surveillance technology he had with them was almost amazing, and he had a contact lens that could record things and he would play back on his back computer and stuff like that. That was a bit far-fetched, but even that doesn't seem too far-fetched in a world where that could be easily 5-10 years away, in real life, right? Everything else, like I love the fact that his Batmobile was like the original Batmobile in the comics, except with the like face, Batman mask face thing. But it seemed like that was, my man need a car that is fast, that is strong, sturdy. He don't need the little bells and whistles and guns and, you know, all the gadgets. He needs it to
run,
get down the bad guys. His Bat motorcycle looks like the Bat motorcycles from the comic books and certain IP that has been out there for the Batman. He does not rely on his grappling hook as much as he does in previous iterations of the Batman. So you can tell that he is, and this is why I love it, because you can see, well, you can conclude that the reason why he is not relying on his gadgets as much is because he hasn't figured out this whole crime fighting thing as yet. So he literally going in bronze, fist first. He just going by pure blind rage. Yes, he has plans. Yes, he may have like the suit, and you know he has some forethought. But you can tell that this is almost therapy for him, more so than saving Gotham. He literally wants to go out there and he wants to exact revenge every time he goes out there to the people that kind of did the same thing to his parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is a much grounded Batman. But back to the comparisons, I would say that he's better. And again, as you say, it depends on the day, it depends on the mood, it depends on the hour. I could easily watch this again and again and again. I actually want to watch over Dark Knight now that I have this new information, because I feel as though, depending on the day I watch it, I could easily conclude that this Batman movie is better than the Dark Knight. But that Dark Knight movie has moments. To me, the Joker stole the show in the Dark Knight movie, and that is to show you how iconic the Joker is. Now, in this movie, this is a Batman movie. Batman stole the show in this movie. And Paul Dano's Riddler was a perfect foil for that. You understand? In Batman, in the Dark Knight, the Joker stole the story. So, you know, the antics of the Joker, and they focus more on the Joker in the Dark Knight than they did Paul Dano's Riddler in this. So, because the Joker is such a captivating character, because the Joker is so chaotic and unstable, right? You almost want to know what he can do next. You know what I mean? That he does certain things. But Paul Dano's Riddler is focused. He ain't necessarily going over all. He's not going against the entire crime syndicate in Gotham. He's going against the elite, and he's killing them. You understand what I mean? And that strikes fear in the elite. So to me, right now as it stands, as the recording of this, I would say Dark Knight is better. But by here, if we do a follow-up to this some years later, I may tell you different. But when all is said and done, this movie is amazing. Mark, we have to rate this movie. I don't know how we can rate this movie, but if we were to rate this out of, put your hands closer together so that they can see it. Yeah, put them in frame. Right. So out of 5, you give it 10?
I give this 10 Riddlers. 10 Riddlers.
10 Riddlers
10 Riddlers out of 5.
Out of 5.
10 Riddlers out of 5.
Me, I'm going to be a bit more critical. I'm not going to give this a perfect score. I'm going to give this like a 4.75. Because the last act was a bit janky. It wasn't... so let me be clear. It worked, but there was a bit of suspension of disbelief more so than the rest of the movie. In a movie where you have Batman and the Riddler and whatever, the third act, and there were some other little things where it's like, all right, we need the plot to go forward. And things just happen for the plot to go forward. I'm not saying it doesn't take away from the movie to the point where he's saying this movie is beer junk, but I can't in good conscience give this a 5 out of 5.
Ain't it harder to fall?
I mean, shoot. But yeah, to me, there are elements in the, and not only that too, but in a movie where I am praising the shots and the cinematography lending to the length of this movie, I still think this could be 10 minutes shorter, because honestly, we were in the cinema, and when we were reviewing
10 minutes of the actual time, or 10 minutes for our time? Because we gotta be real specific here.
Of the actual runtime, okay, because let's be honest, right? When we watched the movie cut out about 5 to 10 minutes before the credits rolled.
Yep.
Right? And in my opinion, how I felt when it ended,
We
I
could
was
have
cool.
gone left.
I was
we
cool.
coulda-
I was cool. Like Batman saves the day. Obviously they put in the Riddler interacting with that other Arkham inmate.
Yeah.
That we don't want to talk about or anything like that. But apart from that, there was no real reason for that movie to go on 10 minutes
10 more
as it did.
minutes,
So to me, not 10 minutes don't make a difference when you're talking about a 3-hour movie. But I do think that the third act was a bit, it started to get self-indulgent. It was like, all right, you can tell Matt Reeves was like, listen to me, right? I point, they're getting all. Listen to
AWLL.
they're getting a director's cut. Warner Brothers want a cut up version. They're getting all. You understand? I ain't gonna wait for Zack Snyder, just like how Zack Snyder had to come with a 4-hour version. They're getting all of me here. And I am vexed, I ain't upset. I'm just saying, because I don't want to just, no movies without sin, as another content creator would say. I have to say that 4.75 for me is where it will land on this. You say you want to do it out of question marks, Riddlers?
Yeah. Well, all right. But obviously, saying Ted Riddlers is a bit embellishing. So again, like you, I have your same negatives are mine. But again, I could almost allow it. You know what I mean? Like everything else was so spot on. Maybe if you get a little self-indulgent, do your thing, Matt Reeves. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You give me that car footage. You give me the hallway scene.
Ooh.
You give me the bat suit. You give me you give me the bat, him escaping the police.
Oh my goodness.
The police district, the police side thing.
When you find him in the club.
You had just enough humor. Like when my man knocked on the door and said, "You know who I am?" And my man shut the door. He made open back and bring it to my brother. I was like, "Holy shit, it's
He's
really
real.
Batman.
He's real.
You might walk into the club and start meeting people.
Yep.
You might fleece people. But if I'm really gonna have to give it a very all serious rating, as we as experts, I'm gonna come in around the same thing. Around your same rating, the 4.75. Just like you said, the ending again was very miss. It didn't even hit. Some people I can't even say it was hit or miss. It really didn't go with the tone of the movie, and and you know how I feel about bad endings and keeping me building me up for it to go wrong. But
Cinematic.
this one
CBB?
does not give me
You didn't get CBB here.
I didn't get CBB. You know, like the amount of licks and shots that was in this movie. No, there was no CBB in this movie.
Yeah. And one thing I must say, right? Let me point out something, right? This is one of the rare instances where a movie shows you all of the action in the trailer, but it's still must watch. It's still a must watch experience. This movie is amazing. Anyhow, my brother, we got to get out of here. We have been reviewing The Batman as my mind gets into character again. You have been watching the review of the Batman movie. We highly recommend that you watch this movie. You do your eyes, do your ears, do your soul. If you don't like Batman, if you like Batman, shoot. You don't like comic book movies, watch this movie. And I can let the Riddler close us out here before we go.
Watch the blasted movie. Anyhow, as always, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything coming down the pipeline. And always check behind the curtains, niggas.
Don't let the Riddler come for you. Thanks for watching.